Advanced properties. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Something. Let's see here. It says it's good. And I'm back. You guys can hear me? Are we good? Check. Okay, it's back. Weird. That was something else. I have no idea what that was all about. I had everything set correctly. So I don't know how much you missed, but shout out to all of those of you who were here early. And got people from all over the place. Today was interesting and is interesting. Man, you know those days where you get up early, in my case 5:30, which is a feat for me these days, and you plan on getting a whole bunch of stuff done. Let me just mute this over here. Good, people can hear me. You plan on getting a bunch of stuff done, and then just everything goes wrong. That was kind of one of those days today. So are we seeing a delay? Let me put my headphones on just so I can hear what's going on here. Check 1, 2. Check. I think we're okay. I'll just leave these headphones on just in case we have another audio hiccup. Yeah, so today's been really interesting. Here's the story. So yesterday, I was like, you know what? I'm going to play with ProRes RAW. And then I was like, shoot, I need to update to the newest version of High Sierra, which is 10.13.4, maybe? Whatever the current one is. And I went ahead and did that. Everything was great. I'm on a Hackintosh, so normally that's like a super scary thing to do, but I have tons of backups. Put it all up and everything, good to go. Then I start editing, and I'm like, holy balls, things are really slow. And then I realized that every single USB port on my machine was operating at USB 2. And then it opened a whole can of worms, sorting all of that out. At this point, I have one USB 3 input. So yeah, things have been very interesting. And of course, right as this happens, I've been looking into moving over to Apple hardware again for several reasons. One is I'm planning on having an editor work with me full time, maybe by the end of this year and the beginning of next year. So I want to go back to getting into Thunderbolt again, because I've been running USB 3. And if all you're doing is editing on your own, USB 3 is plenty fast for a lot of things. It's also really affordable when it comes to hardware, like, you know, RAID boxes and all that kind of stuff. So I want to go back to Apple hardware. That's one reason. The other reason, which I didn't plan on, but it's happening, is it looks like Apple might be doing their own CPUs down the road. Not fully sure, but, you know, I could see them totally doing that. Just like they bought companies to do the chips, their whatever chips for their iOS stuff. It looks like they might be doing that, and I think it makes sense for them. They'll have more control. They can really fine-tune things. Looks like there might be a little delay, probably because I only have one single USB 3 device. Anyways, so doing a Hackintosh in 2020 or beyond is going to get real difficult, because the whole idea of doing a Hackintosh won't be possible, because you won't be able to use the same hardware that Apple's using, because they're making their own hardware. So I was actually chatting with Max Yuriev. He's got a ton of great videos on post-production hardware and cameras and things. And just chatting with him, trying to figure out what I want to do. In a perfect world, I would just buy 2 iMac Pros, and that still may happen, but that would be, you know, a $10,000 investment before I get into a new Thunderbolt architecture for post-production. The other option is a couple of standard iMacs, 2017, kind of fully maxed-ish. And that would be way more affordable. I don't know, around $6 grand, $5 to $6 grand. Or Max let me know that there's potentially going to be a new iMac in this summer, so maybe wait for that. At any rate, at this point in time, things are working. I'm back to work, and I did work a little bit with ProRes RAW today, and it's pretty interesting. I need to do more side-by-sides. It's the thing that bothers me the most about it is there's no sliders like when you're working with Red RAW. I really want to see what the ISO is set at, or at least sliders to know what I'm changing. But as it sits, it's essentially kind of like ProRes but better. Excuse me. I haven't fully compared it to D&G yet, True Raw, but it's just weird. It's the Apple way. It kind of feels like the original Final Cut, this particular feature, in that it doesn't quite give us the control we want. So who knows? Maybe we'll see that change, and I'll do more testing and have a better idea of what's up and do that series of stuff with you guys. In other news, this guy finally arrived. So a lot of people already have their reviews up, or at least super early reviews of the Sony a7 III. Mine finally arrived, and so far I'm loving it. Really the only thing that I've noticed so far that I don't like is the little jacks for, or the covers for the jacks. I really miss the door style. I don't think I have another camera near me, but you know, no one really likes to deal with this. Let's see if the camera will focus. There we go. We're filming with the GH5S using the autofocus hack, and obviously it's struggling a little bit. There we go. All these doors that flop around and actually kind of block cables and whatnot. So otherwise, yeah, it's really fun to have a full frame camera that shoots 4K, because this, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this, but I've never purchased a full frame Sony camera, or any of the A7 cameras for that matter. Yeah, I just never, there was always something that's just like, ooh, I don't know about that. But this is the first camera I was like, yep, that's definitely gonna be pretty sick. So we'll definitely be doing a review, comparison, and what's really interesting about this camera is the competition. The GH5S is $500 more than this camera. The GH5 is right at the same cost, so yeah, it's pretty interesting. So how are you guys doing? Did I miss anything today? I've been pretty much off social media since last night, I think. And looking forward to getting ahead a little bit. I do have a video for tomorrow, and then next week we're going to dive in with some fresh content. Sorry about being late today. Again, all this madness kind of got me a little bit behind, but yeah, I also bought an old camera that I'm really stoked to talk about, because with this whole ProRes RAW thing, I'll just tell you guys, I bought an FS700. So I can't remember when that came out, but it's fairly dated. And what's sweet is you throw that Atom Shogun on there, boom, 4K 120 RAW burst mode, and then 240 RAW in HD, and you can go up to 4K 60 RAW, and it has ND filters and all that kind of stuff. So pretty sweet stuff. I saw Kino Tika. What's going on? David, right? Or Daniel? I think it's David. How you doing, man? Yeah. So you guys have any questions? I didn't really prepare too much for today, and I've barely shot with the A7 III, so I really can't give you too much of an opinion on that yet. Let's see here. Wonder Wheeze, do you know if there's a way to control the focus of the GH5 while it's tethered to via capture card? Try the Panasonic app. It wouldn't let me since, you should be able to use your iPhone app with a Panasonic camera to change focus. The best method for that I have found is if there's an autofocus switch on your lens, turn that on obviously, and then turn the camera to manual focus, okay? And then you'll be able to tap or drag focus on your phone, and when you let go, it'll focus and then it'll stay there. That's my favorite method. Right now I have it on autofocus, But you should be able to do that. You should still get HDMI out. The only problem you might run into is some weird audio stuff if you're using audio from your camera, but it's best to do, you know, kind of what I have here. We have a microphone going into a mixer separately. So yeah. What else we got? How heavy did the Pocket 4K feel versus the GH5? That's a good question. I would say it's hard to tell because they had one lens that we couldn't change at the show floor. I would say it's at least the same weight, probably heavier. It's pretty beefy. There's a lot packed in there, so I would say probably heavier. Yeah, so why did I go with the FS700? Well, I wanted to do content on ProRes RAW, and currently that's the cheapest way to get in that game. FS700 with the Shogun Inferno. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. And I'll do a video on this and why I went with this setup. But essentially, what? Probably around under $4,000, you get 4K up to 60 frames per second, real 4K DCI, not UHD. 4K 120 in burst mode, which works really well with the Shogun Inferno. 240 frames per second in 2K, which is obviously bigger than, a little bit bigger than HD. You have built-in NDs, and it's the same sensor, I believe, as the FS5. So it's a pretty appealing setup for around $3,500, give or take. Now, the low light's, you know, pretty rough, so it's not going to be super fantastic there. But again, if you're looking for some high-speed stuff, that camera's really solid still. So, and you can get them for, I think I got mine for around $2,300. They're going a lot recently, I think because of this new ProRes RAW thing. So yeah, you can definitely keep an eye out. But if you find a good deal, it might not be a terrible idea to go for it. How are colors straight out of the camera? Couldn't tell you if you're talking about the Pocket 4K. Are we going to see more creative content, meaning how to light a scene, techniques, and things of that nature instead of gear review? Yes. I have a couple videos planned. One I'm really looking forward to, and it's a real quick, several tips all lined up, essentially just ways to instantly improve your lighting. Because there's all kinds of little things that if you just retweak kind of how you think about lighting can make a huge difference. So a lot of that stuff's coming. We're going to talk about lenses and lens characteristics. So I have a whole series planned where we're going to go through anything and everything involving lens characteristics and how to take advantage of those, as well as a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, more of that stuff on the way. How is your studio right now? Seeing that you have changed it several times. Yeah, I constantly make little tweaks. I think right now it's pretty settled though, having this space where I can do live streams, and I have been recording some videos right here at the desk, and that's really great, especially if things are kind of noisy upstairs. I just take this shotgun and I take off this guy right here with these two, you know, quick release dealios, and then just get it just out of frame. Got my recorder, everything set up right here, and I can just boom, shoot talking head stuff. And then I got the main studio space where I can, you know, do some bigger stuff. My B-roll station. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with how things are. Going to be some organizational or organizing improvements. And then eventually when I have an assistant, things will have to change up again. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to format this room for two people to edit and whatnot. That's a really good camera or question from Davio. How should I buy a GH5S now or wait for the Black Magic? I mean, if you've got work lined up and you need a camera, you should get a camera now and do work. If there's no pressure to get a camera, then, you know, might as well wait and see what it looks like. It's kind of a far ways out, and I feel like right now is pretty busy when it comes to video production. So if you need a camera or just rent until then, that would work just fine too. Got an A6300 and want to upgrade. Is the A7 III worth it, or hold off for the A7S III? Depending on what your budget is, it depends. I mean, obviously, I think it would be smart to wait to see what the A7S III is like and what it costs. But if your budget's around $2,000, chances are most likely the A7 III is going to be 32 plus. So getting this camera might be smart if you know what your budget is going to be. Favorite LED light from NAB? If I had to pick one single light, probably... I'm probably forgetting a bunch at the moment, but the Came TV tube lights, if those are priced decently, that could be a really interesting option instead of Quasar Science lights, because they have battery control, dimmer on board, all that kind of thing. Prime lens or adaptable millimeter, i.e. zoom. I'm a big zoom fan. I love primes too. You're going to get the best optical quality and better cost. So dollar per quality, you're going to get more with a prime lens. But when it depends on what you shoot. If you're doing narrative and you have time to swap lenses out, go for it. What I have found is when I did freelance work, I relied heavily on 3 zoom lenses. The Nikon 17 to 35 AFD, they're all AFD zooms, f2.8, the 28 to 80, and the 80 to 200. Those 3 covered anything and everything I needed to do. Those were my workhorses. They made me tons of money because I bought them. They weren't super expensive. You can probably get that whole set for $2 to $3 grand, I would imagine. And they matched great. And so I was able to set up 2 camera interviews. And for my corporate documentary shooter stuff, those covered everything. You know, you could throw them on a speed booster with a GH4 at the time is what I was shooting on. And I love those. So zoom is good. And people always are like, well, but, you know, with zooms, you get lazy. Well, I mean, that's on you, right? I don't think you shouldn't use something because you might be lazy with it. I think you should, you know, develop some discipline as a filmmaker and realize what that tool is, you know, worth. Now, if you're dealing with a really low budget, probably go with primes, just again, because you're going to get more quality with a set of primes than you will with really cheap zoom lenses. So, yeah. Going back up here. Should we wait for Canon or get back in the market for mirrorless? Do you think they will save themselves? Yeah, so great question. Can't read your name because it's in another language, but you're awesome. Thank you very much. I mean, they're going to. There will be a Canon mirrorless camera at some point. It's probably not going to be this year, though. So again, kind of going back to one of those other questions, if you've got work lined up or you need a camera to make you money, then you should just buy one now or rent. But it's going to be a good while, I think. I don't think they're going to release a really like A7S competitor. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's going to be a little while before they do a big monster full-frame mirrorless camera. Would love to see some behind-the-scenes setups you do and if your shoots with your shoots if possible. Yes, this year, at the end of the year and next year, I'm hoping to have an assistant and do more behind the scenes because it's really hard to do that when you're on your own. So hoping to do a bunch of shoots, have someone else to help film and mix things up and get out of here. Not like move, but go somewhere else and light and film stuff. It's just to... I think it'd be a fun series just to go to different spaces, office room, bedroom, a larger space, an outdoor space, and just show how I would approach setting up an interview there or filming or doing B-roll and all that kind of stuff. But surprisingly, that takes a lot of work if you're on your own. Okay, how do you manage to use all the cameras you bought? M50, A7SG is, yeah, so I'm doing content on them, reviews, guides, camera guides like I've done in the past. And then what I usually do is the ones that I just can't let go of, I hang on to, and then I sell the other ones. So I'm not stockpiling forever. Before I start selling gear, though, I do plan on doing kind of all the cameras I own at that time, because I think it'd be kind of interesting to do kind of a lightning round, go down the line and talk about each one. GH5S now or Blackmagic Cinema later, talked about that earlier. If you have work and you need a camera to make money, go for it now. Otherwise, rent until the fall. Yeah. I'm streaming with the GH5S right now, and thanks, Acrylic Studios. How's it going? Appreciate the kind words. Just got the 200D with a kit lens, nifty 50. Sweet. Awesome. With the arrival of the Atomos Ninja 5, is it the new market leader? Bang for the buck? I think so. I mean, that's a decent price for a monitor that does all that it does, much less a recorder. So I think it's pretty smart. How much for the couch? I don't have a couch, unless there's something I'm missing there. Right on. GH5 or A7 III, stabilization or full frame, better pixels versus big juicy sensor. Are you current upload speed? $2 donation from Devin. Trent, current upload speed. Let's find out. It's probably choking, or not choking, but it's probably going to be much less than it normally would, because we're doing a live stream. But let's check. I'm at speedtest.net. Go. Connecting. Downloads are 80 megabytes per second, 85. I'm on Comcast Business, which I think is the way to go, since they're now capping bandwidth, and that really blows when you... All right, so it hit 90. Uploads are 15 megabytes up. 16, 17, somewhere in there. So that's what's up. Interesting question, and thank you for the donation. Can I apply to be your assistant? Not at this time. I might be open to something like that. I would love to source a bunch of shooters locally, but we're not quite there yet. Someday I would love to do like an apprenticeship program where, you know, bring a whole bunch of people on. That'd be fun. When do you feel the Panasonic may preview the GH6 from Trail Features? It's probably going to be a while. They've been busy, and I don't think it'd be smart for them to do anything quickly. I would imagine next fall or the year after that. So it might be a while. At the same time, they have a lot to answer to with what all's going on with Sony. Right. Still thinking of doing a review of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. You're talking about the original one, which is not here anymore. Yes, I think I would love to still do a video on that. Let's see, aperture 120D Mark II, super cool. Lots of full frame versus GH5 stuff. I mean, to me, it comes down to higher frame rate with the GH5. Depends on your 5 or 5S. Better pixels for sure. You're doing 10-bit 422, up to 6K anamorphic. So it's pretty solid when it comes to that stuff. But the full frame, people are going to struggle turning this down. You know, that big, fat, juicy sensor is delightful. And it's just a joke how easy it is to get shallow depth of field. Really doesn't matter what you use. So, yeah. Cheapest Super 35 4K 60 camera. Probably a GH5 with a $200 Viltrox speed booster. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I would go with. Dude, KMTV tube lights look awesome. Definitely want those quasars. Definitely want that quasar, too expensive. Yeah, it depends on which quasars you're going with. Those RGB ones are definitely expensive. So yeah, depending on where they price them, they could be in a really nice sweet spot. What zoom lens do you think is best for A7 III? I actually got this with a kit lens, which isn't too bad. Obviously, it's not constant aperture, but again, with full frame, I mean, set the lens to what, f4 or 5.6, and you'd have a decent little zoom. Otherwise, obviously, if you want a fast lens, then you're gonna have to seriously cough up some cash if you want autofocus for full frame. So it's pretty interesting right now. So yeah, so I don't have a lot of good recommendations there. Wow, I'm behind on comments. Let's giddy up here. Where's the best place to sell old gear? eBay, Craigslist, any of those really. Jumping down. Guys are chatting with each other, which is super rad. A7S III using ProRes, that would be super dank. Doubt it's gonna happen though. And right now, I think Panasonic and DJI are the only manufacturers that have licenses. So we're not gonna see anything anytime super soon unless that changes. Licenses from Apple and of course Atomos. Do you delete your old footage or back up? Yeah, I back up everything. So when I finish with a video, I delete all the non-necessary stuff, but the original footage and the project files are there. And then when I'm done with a big batch of videos, I then move them to my server. New D microphones look super rad, Benny. Yeah. Need advice on a new key light for remote one-person documentary interviews. Looking for a flexible style. Looking at FlexLight 120D, Light Dome, Edge Light. What would you use or recommend? Flexible lights, I mean, these Falcon Eyes, I'm being lit by one right now, the small one, and I think it just looks great. I need to measure the size of it and then the distance because I have been loving this setup right here. It just looks super duper great. I think the fall off and the shadows are just right. So I'm using the smallest one they make right now. I think it's around 172 bucks. You could use V-mount batteries or a little adapter for two. It comes with the adapter, I think. And then you can power it off of two Sony MPFs. The batteries last forever. And it's dimmable. And it's, I mean, I'm at ISO 400 right now at 2.5. And let me turn this all the way up. So that's full output. So you could easily shoot an interview at, let's say, ISO 100, probably, at this distance. And it's going through a softbox right now. So I'll drop that back down. Something like that. I think that looks good. Okay. They have bicolor, all kinds of good stuff. So Falcon Eyes, just search my channel for FlexLight alternatives. You'll find that. Otherwise, a 120D would work great with a light dome, especially their new collapsible one. But it is going to be a little bulkier and heavier. So I'd probably do the FlexLight. I mean, back in the day when I did full-time, you know, day in, day out interviews and corporate work, I would have loved to have had these available. And that's probably I would just buy a whole bunch of these in different sizes and then a ton of batteries and boom. We got our donation from Curry Shot You. My GH5 is sold. I have two GH5 bodies. What will the Sigma Art 85 be equivalent to with the adapter? Does the adapter allow autofocusing? It's a great question. I think the adapters do, if you're talking about the Viltrox and the Metabones. Equivalent, let's see, 85 times 2-ish. Depends, yeah, on a GH5. 170 maybe like 140, 120. I'm bad with the focal reducer math. So yeah, sorry I couldn't answer your question better, but congrats on the selling of your G85. I'm sure someone way smarter than me will have the answer down here somewhere. Best headphones for editing. I love these guys right here. These are the Sony MDR 7506s. Really minimal, super simple. Anything Sony MDR is pretty great. So super comfortable, and yeah, can't really go wrong with those. Any thoughts on evenly lighting a small room? Would love to have something that's out of the way that I can hit a switch and turn things on. Trying to cut down on setup time for my YouTube videos. Yeah, so probably what I would do is in a corner of a room, set up a camera, maybe even get like a wall plate. They're called baby plates. It's essentially a flat piece of metal with the screw holes in it and a light stand stud sticking off the end of it. It's called a baby plate. Screw that to the wall. If you don't have a stud there, run a board across 2 studs, screw it to the wall, stick your camera on there with a ball head, and it's nice tucked away in a corner. Just above it, put one of these or some kind of light or a cheap softbox with an LED bulb. I have a video coming up on that. Super cheap and great. And then all you have to do is roll your chair over to the corner and turn on the light, hit record, and you're good to go. You could also do the same thing with the microphones. Man, I need to do a video on this. This sounds awesome. The corner studio. No one steal that, because I like what I just came up with there. Yeah, you can get, do I have one right here? I think I do, because I took one down. Here, hang on a second. So grab one of these on Amazon. They're $13. Just search for like Neewer, Neewer, that brand. Neewer microphone arm. And you could easily attach this to the wall as well. And then when you're ready to, film your video, you just boop, pull it out, stick a microphone on it, just leave it all set up, and then push it out of the way when you're done. That's probably what I would do for like a YouTube, little YouTube room setup. And then the only other thing you're gonna have to think about is the light behind you. Like in this space, especially if you have controlled lighting where there's not windows or anything, you'll want something on the background, and you could use almost anything for that. I like to top light my background, so there's a light back there just out of the frame, and I use that as I realize that my framing is really crooked on this. So anyway, great question, Sean, and that's probably what I would go with. Will you do a video on how to get clients for video work? Yes, actually, it might be a live stream. My good buddy Corbin Tyson, he and I did a whole course or guide entitled the Corporate Video Guide, and I'm going to actually have him on a live stream one of these days, and we're going to tear into some pricing, producing, making money doing video questions. So stay tuned for that. Okay. Uh-oh, it froze. Looks like we're back. Okay. Overall, it's a great year for cameras and filmmakers. Absolutely, man. It's so good right now with the options we have. It's insane. It's just going to get better. Someday kids are going to be complaining they don't have 444 12-bit, but all their cameras do DCI 10-bit internal. It's going to be... Yeah, I mean, I was texting someone the other day, and we were talking about, like, this camera and that camera, who's going to release this, and then it was just kind of a moment where, like, it's so good right now. Back when I got started, back in the old days, before these kids were like, my first camera, the 80D, you had the Nikon D90, which highest resolution was 720p. You had the Canon 5D Mark II, and then the GH1, and then the 7D, Canon 7D. That was it. So things were pretty rough. We were excited about the 7D being able to film 60 frames per second at 720p. Like, that was exciting at one point. So it's insanely good right now. It's unbelievable. Wow, I'm behind once again. Let's see. The thing jumped here, the scrolling. Let me blow up this window here so you have some more room. Thoughts on stabilizers? I think they're awesome. I don't use them that much, but yeah, good stuff. Ronin S looks great. They're all getting so good right now. So it's hard to find a bad stabilizer if you do a little research. So I really think most of them are going to work great. What software am I using? OBS, Derek. Is 4K really worth it? Depends on what you do. Please do a full review of the A7. Thank you, man. It's on the way. Okay, I'm jumping down. We got our donation from Kevin Nudge. $1. No comment. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Will there be speed boosters for the Pocket 4K? Yes, you can just use any standard Micro Four Thirds speed booster since it's a Micro Four Thirds sensor. Don't sell on Craigslist. People have fake money. Interesting. 3 times that happened to you. Whew. That blows. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, you're right. Alir, there's going to be an A6700 or something like that before too long. So yeah, we can stay tuned for that. Are there any alternatives to capture cards to live streams? Yeah, there's a bunch of cheap, around $100, $150 ones out there. The Cam Link is one of the cheapest, best private options. New Blackmagic or A7 III, it really depends on what that Blackmagic actually looks like. None of us have seen footage. Even the Blackmagic team hadn't really had time to shoot out anywhere, so we're going to have to wait and see. What 3D printer do I have? I've got the Monoprice Maker Select Mini V2, and it's great. Just set it up and started printing right away. No real problems. Are we live? Yes, we are live, James. I see repeats here. Why are you talking to a shotgun microphone? Versus, yeah, so I just went with a shotgun because I have it. And believe it or not, a lot of voiceover artists use shotguns instead of large diaphragm. So, yeah. No, I'm not using the Cam Link for my streams. I'm using the Epiphan Video AVIO 4K, which has been a trooper. True. Joel's calling me out, but you had a digital starting out. Yeah, there's always something further back. Someone probably is like, stupid DSLR kids generation. You know, back when I was doing the HVX 200. And then people are VHS, film. And then there's all the way back to when people are just looking at things with their eyes. All right. Do I use color meters or light meters on set? I don't use color or light meters. I've just been very comfortable with waveform monitors. And color meters I've played with and used actually a lot. The C700 from Sekonic, and really like that. It's amazing how much more accurate you can get when you have one of those. So I'd have nothing against either, though. I just don't use a light meter. Why not Twitch? Well, because I'm a YouTuber and YouTube does live streaming. I don't know why everyone's getting all their panties all kinds of wound up about Twitch. I feel like what happened was someone, and that's someone being Ninja, who's a gamer, got real big, started making a lot of money, and then people started getting all, oh, should I be on Twitch? Oh, is Twitch big? It's kind of big. And so now everyone's going over to Twitch and doing what they could be doing here. They already have audiences here. They already have a presence here. So I have nothing against Twitch. I follow lots of guys and have been way before this whole recent Casey Neistat going to Twitch thing. And I enjoy watching those guys. I just don't know why people feel the need like they're missing something if they're not on Twitch. So nothing against Twitch, but I don't think you should, when things blow up and get big, run over and and try to get in on it. Thoughts on Viltruck Speed Booster? I'm sure it's fine. And let's see. We got another donation from Kevin Nudge. $5. Thank you very much, Kevin. Ever consider changing your YouTube channel name since you don't do much with DSLRs? Great question, Kevin. I have considered it many times. I've lost sleep over it in the past. These days, you know, it doesn't really bother me. It feels a little DSLR video shooter with my DSLRs making videos. It sounds kind of cheesy, but I've built the brand up. I don't feel like, you know, blowing that up and starting over. And maybe you'll become retro someday. And it kind of puts a stamp on, you know, when I got started. So, yeah. And there's other people out there who haven't changed it. DSLR Guide, Cinema 5D. So I'm not really worried about it anymore. But yeah, if I were to start over, I don't know if I would have changed it starting over, because you could say mirrorless and then the next thing is going to be something else. And I did get kind of a kick SEO wise by using DSLR when I started. So yeah, that's what's up with that. Well, guys, I need to get something to drink, use the boys' room, and find a way to get some sleep tonight. The setup here is finally stable. We got more videos coming. Thank you guys for joining me. I think we're going to wrap things up here. Really appreciate those who donated and all the questions. We'll be back to our normal time next week. I kind of got a little carried away here and missed my start point today. So yeah, let me know if you have any upcoming videos you'd like to see. We've got lots down the pipeline. And I hope you guys have a fantastic evening. Thank you for spending your 45 minutes with me. And I'll see you in the next video.